What's up, guys? Welcome back to BSFR podcast. It's your host, sis with most sis, Airi, Angel, and Dana. And today we're talking about validation. Now I want to ask y'all: is there a time where seeking validation is right or wrong?
For
If
sure.
you're seeking validation, wouldn't it just be like, yeah, it's wrong? Like you don't need validation from nobody but the Lord. Forget what people got to say about you. Forget what they think about you. Ain't that what validation is, right? Like you need.
Well, what is validation? Well, I guess what's y'all definition
I
of
don't.
validation?
Every time we do the whole definition thing, it always throws me off because I don't be
Your understanding. Let's not say definition understanding.
validation. What would you say, Dana?
Dang it.
I think to seek validation is sometimes to seek clarity, or to seek direction, or to seek confirmation on your viewpoint, your stance, or your decision that you've already made. Like you want to feel validated in that you've made the right decision, or that you think the right way, or that you won the argument. Yeah.
But I was gonna say just seeking approval, but I like when you said um like on a decision you've already made.
Yep. Can y'all think of like an instance where you may have noticed that like you had already made a decision, or like a time in your life that you noticed that you may do this, or is it something that you don't do, or that you used to do that you no longer do?
I think it'd be a hit or miss. Like it'd be like it's like an on and off. Sometimes I'll like no, yeah, I do it a lot. I'm not finna say here in front. I do it a lot because it's like I don't know the answer, but then I don't trust myself enough, or yeah, trust myself enough that I'm hearing right. That I'll go ask Dana, or I'll ask you, or I'll ask y'all like God. So, but before which is something that we hopefully get into today. But before I ask God, you know, and even asking God, I'm like, I get that thing where I'm like, is it me or is it God? And you're like, girl, he did say it like 5 times. You don't get it by now, that type of thing. So yeah, so I do. I think I do consistently seek validation.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, but I do think it's like I think that's in the negative sense, because I think there is a positive side of like seeking validation, where it's like I guess we will call it like seeking counsel. Like, is that the same thing? Like, isn't it the same thing? You're just seeking counsel on a decision you've made, maybe about the way to.
I think it would depend on how that input would direct you. So seeking counsel would be, hey, this is like, hey, I decided I'm getting dreads. I'm letting y'all know. Like I'm talking to it with you, let's say for counsel, because I want to know, oh, how often would I wash it? Da, 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 versus if everybody that you talk to about that thing, example being, no, you shouldn't. You have beautiful curls. And it's like if that person's validation or them approving it will change your whole decision on something that you were already set on making.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Don? What you think?
You disagree?
I do think that I think that the world typically lands in the negative side of validation, right? Society typically leads you to have to look for confirmation. But I do believe that spiritually, and I guess on the other side of that, and our faith being Christians, is that there is a validation that is necessary, right? If you want to stick solely to the point of anointing, to be like, well, you need the seal, kind of the seal of approval, right? The ability you need to be set apart for this specific thing. You need to be anointed for this specific thing, because that's all that anointing means, to be set apart. But you need that to do a certain thing, right? Meaning you need the validation of Jesus to do a certain thing. You need the validation of God to do a certain thing. So there's also the thing of Jesus. An example is Jesus being baptized at the Jordan, and him going to John the Baptist, where John the Baptist is like, yeah, but this is weird. I shouldn't be baptizing you. You should be baptizing me. Him understanding, right? But in that same time, Jesus is like, suffer it now, because I need to fulfill all righteousness. I need you to baptize me, to validate me, or to approve me in the spirit, so that heaven can open for me. right? This being God in the flesh, but he still had to go through the protocols of validation or acceptance or approval, right? But that also falls under the definition of what validation is. You need somebody to approve you.
What an astounding way of breaking that down. Wow.
I'm sorry.
No, that was really just a profound way of breaking that down. It was one of them.
You not gonna find the word?
No, I said both of the right words.
No, it fits. It's the right word.
Both of them, yeah, both of them was right. Astounding, profounding.
She needed that. Why did you make her have to seem like she needed to find validation?
Hey,
That she used the right word.
hey,
Angel.
No, because she typically be like, don't be finding the right word.
Vibe. But she was right this time.
But this is
She
a
was
prime
right.
example, and I'm just gonna take us here for a second, real quick. Don't let people hold you prisoner to your past.
Oh, that's a word right there.
I have grown. I
That's
have
a word
studied
right there.
Amen.
to show myself.
I have gotten better.
I have gotten better. Come on.
Hey,
What you finna ask?
no, I forgot my question.
And then also too, if you want to talk about validation, we all needed a certificate to know that we graduated high school.
A resume
Yeah, like something
that
that
validates your experience. Even if you haven't graduated, you need to have experience in the field. You need to have gone through a certain amount of time in a trade, and that validates that you are hireable.
Yeah, because this is not a TV show where you can just walk in, get the job, and have no type of experience. You know what I'm saying? Because
so our validation is Jesus. Oh, good.
always. No, I was going to say that always.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yep.
I think
that is the Christian answer. Yes.
I think if I'm being honest, y'all, I know for me, so I battle with validation really hard where I battle with it a lot with like mom, where I'll be like, I need her like approval on something. Like I need her to like give it an okay. And so if you didn't want her to know what she was doing before I finally did something, I would tell her and be like, yeah, so like, I don't know, I was thinking about like just moving to Philly or something. I don't know, I just see me up there maybe like 30 days at a time. It's like before I even moved to Philly, I literally called her and I'm like, whatever her response is determines it all. Because I'm like, if she gives me a problem, it's going to be a problem. But if she's smooth with it, it will cut off this big tie because it's not a lot of people I care about what they're going to say. Like, but mom was just one of those people that I was just like, oh, yeah, I'm thinking about it. She's like, oh, I think that's a good idea. And I'm like,
she was trying to do that reverse psychology.
and it did not work out for her. Like, she just tried to reverse psychology me. That'd be like, yeah, you know what? You should do it. Whole time I'm looking at it as a sign like, wow, God, even something like this, she would have said no. But a lot of times I send it to her.
Good, you itching.
Because there's some truth to it, and I'm not saying this to get you back into the place of codependency, because there's a difference between needing validation or seeking validation and being codependent on other people's opinions.
Okay.
That's a big thing right there. There's a big difference between that, and I feel like people don't really know the difference of that. But there's some truth to that, right? And we were just talking about this earlier today at church, but when Isaac was on his deathbed with his twins, Jacob and Esau, and he tells Esau, go hunt for me, right? So I can give you this blessing. And Papalo broke this down beautifully, but he says it wasn't that God was going to bless him, because the Bible literally says, so go get this so that my soul can bless you, right? So there is a validation that a person can hold. And I say that to kind of add on to the earlier comment of Jesus is our validation. He absolutely is. 1,000,000%. He absolutely is. But mind you, Esau was the rightful heir to everything that Isaac had because he was the firstborn, right? Jacob's name literally means usurper, right? Trickster. Like, even in his womb, he was trying to pull him back so that he could be the first one out to try to take his blood. Like, what? Like, you was wilding even in the womb. Like, that's crazy. But there is a blessing that a person can hold. And so for you to go, I'm going to call my mom to seek her blessing on this thing, because that's what it was, even if you're not using the word on it, there is a truth to it. Only thing is, she released a word without having the backing of the truth in what she said because she was trying to do reverse psychology. But had she blessed it, maybe you would have been successful in Philly. Like, had she genuinely blessed it, maybe she would have been successful because there is a blessing or a validation that each man holds, right?
Because certain people carry certain graces. This is how you would go to
Yes.
like a real estate agent to ask them how to invest in real
Yes.
estate. You need that validation and approval of like, oh yeah, you're calling right. Like
Yeah.
that's good. That's
Even better
amazing.
example of the real estate thing is, do you know that when you look on Zillow, it doesn't hold all the listings that are actually available and on the market?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that if you're a
Every
real
time.
estate agent, that there's essentially a secret network that you can have and access that holds more listings of things that are in foreclosure, things that haven't yet hit the market but are about to hit the market, and now there are some kind of softwares that can kind of help you to tap into it, but even those don't have the fullness of the things that
Yeah.
realtors have access to.
That's
And so if you
good.
get the right realtor, they'll give you the right access. They'll validate you that you can have information that is on this secret list.
That's good. That's good. That's really good.
That's good.
Okay.
So would you say that in the sense, not even in the sense, just kind of like semi-connected, could seeking validation be connected to doubt or like a lack of confidence?
Yes.
A
1,000,000%
a little bit
yes.
more for us?
Okay. Did anybody else want to go first? Because I could really keep talking. I don't want to take all the, because I have so many, but go ahead, please, somebody.
No,
Say yours, and then if I have something, I'll give you the finger.
we'll tag along.
Okay.
My turn. No.
Well, let's go back to John the Baptist, okay? John the Baptist doubted because he was sending out his disciples to be like, go ask him if he's really the one or if we should wait for another. Right? This is John the Baptist, the one who was supposed to be baptizing Jesus. He's actually, I think people fail to realize they was related. They was cousins.
Yeah,
Right? Like
because his
they
auntie
grew up
was
together in the
Elizabeth.
same family. Yes, like they grew up in the same family, meaning that he should have grown up when Jesus was missing, right? And they was leaving the country, and Joseph and Mary are looking for Jesus, and he in church. And he's like, my son, why was y'all looking for me? Don't y'all know I'm gonna be in my father's house? So, huh? Like, we left the country. If you still talk, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? Meaning, growing up, he should have heard these stories. You see what I'm saying? The anomalies that were Jesus Christ, because he was a man, but he was also God in the flesh, right? And so him growing up with him, seeing all these things, eventually getting to the place of like seeing him do miracles. When it's time for him to come and be baptized, he's still in doubt. So much so that in that same paragraph or in that same chapter, God, when he opens up heaven, goes, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased." It was validation for John the Baptist to realize that this is me, my guy. Like, this is the one I sent for the salvation. Remember when you was telling people there's another one who will come that will baptize you in fire? This is him, right? He put his stamp and his seal on Jesus in that moment for John the Baptist. But, and here's kind of a lesser thing, because I don't think people, like when we talk about Jesus, we talk about him in the fullness of who he is, knowing who he is, right? But you have to realize Jesus didn't fully know who he was until a certain point. And how do we know that? Because the boy grew in wisdom and stature, right? Wisdom meaning the application of what he now knows, and stature meaning position. He began to understand who he was. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So when he was little, he didn't know, but then he started to grow and be like, I need to be here. I don't know why, but I need to be here. So now he understands this is my father's house. Then it goes, even when he after he leaves the Jordan and he goes, and the Spirit led him. And then when he leaves after the 40 days of fasting, he comes out in the power. I mean, he didn't have it when he went in. He was still being led, right? And Pablo has said it so many times that if somebody is leading you, it means they're in front of you. But when you came out, you were now hand in hand walking with him in the power, right? So his position shifted again. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about this. There's so much. It just really, you be like, dang. But people fail to realize that Jesus also grew in understanding. So at some point, he didn't fully understand. And I was reading Mark chapter 1 the other day, and I had only seen it where, and this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. But Mark tells the other side of that, where Jesus also heard it, but he heard, "You are my beloved son in whom I am well pleased," meaning he also had doubt.
Yeah.
Because that's natural, right? A lot of people, from a human standpoint, just with the worldly things that we've been given, you are having trouble conceptualizing, "I will be a millionaire." That's hard for some people, right? So much so that let me just touch on this real quick, because I think this is the stupidest thing. I was watching Love is Blind, right? And one of the couples, they were like, we're going to be billionaires, sit at the table with the girl's mom. And this man goes, it's evil to hoard wealth like that. You don't want to be a billionaire? Then she goes, "Oh, okay, well, we could be millionaires." He goes, "I'm not looking forward to hoarding
I just
wealth."
want to be broke.
Wait a minute, because this is the thought that a lot of people have, like, "Oh, it's evil to have this much money." No, money answers all things on the earth. Not to get sidetracked, but it just shows you that there's simple things that people are having trouble digesting, that we're having a hard time understanding. I am successful. I am healthy. These are hard things for people to sit with and to really believe, right? Because that's what it is, a lack of belief. So imagine believing you're the son of God. Imagine believing we have trouble believing. Some people don't even believe they're getting to heaven as a Christian. What did he die for? You see what I'm saying? So simple things that are the foundation of our belief system, people have a hard time believing. Imagine being a human being, going through puberty, liking women, and still having to deny that. Imagine that, and also on top of that, believing you're the son of God, who was with him before the earth. That's a
Because I
hard
just
thing.
know
And so, of
Jesus was
course, he needed
handsome.
validation. No, he wasn't, actually. Sorry.
Jesus was ugly.
Well, he wasn't a supermodel.
So
He was basic.
so David was finer than him.
Yeah. He
He
didn't
come
look like
from the
anything. He
line
was
of
made,
David.
yeah, but he was made of no reputation. And then there's a story where it tells you that Jesus was in the crowd and they were looking like, "Who is it?" You know that story?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. I'll look it up. But there's a story where he's in the crowd and hold on, it's very specific. No, he looked regular. That was the point, because if he looked like a king, and if that's how they based it up, because during the time, that's how
Oh,
they based
okay.
it off. You see what I'm saying?
What
So
makes
no, he
sense.
was short. He didn't look like a king. That's why
Mm.
they were like making fun of him, like, "Oh, King of Kings, this is the King of the Jews." That's why they were making fun of him, because he didn't look like it.
Wow.
Just
I think
the
something you
picture.
were saying too about something I've been like coming across of is that when you was just telling the story about the billion million from Love is Blind, it made me think about just recently I've been doing just a deeper understanding of a lot of people, like you said, have a negative relationship with money. And a young lady was saying, like, the reason that you keep asking for wealth and abundance and God bless me and all these other things, but you still have a negative relationship with money. Meaning that even if he gave it to you, you wouldn't even know what to do with it, how to handle it, how to steward over it, invest in it, flip it, etc. Because you have this negative thing. And then I seen this other video of this young lady saying, um, a lot of people want to start nonprofits because they feel like that's the only way to help. And it was just going into a lot of stuff is way deeper than what we think, that a lot of ways that we think have been engraved in us over generations and generations. And that's something that I know for, something that I've heard in conversations with our own family. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's been like it's hard for a rich man to go to heaven. Again, people using biblical messages, and I'm like, I always, when you read the word for yourself and you read it and you get the revelation understanding, people mention the story of the man where God was like, I mean, when Jesus said, give up all your riches, and and he's like, no. And it was like, see, you can and it was just like people don't understand.
A rich man can't enter heaven. Stupid.
Yeah, they don't understand it. They take it as a quote of like, if you have money, then you can. But it's like, no, it's when money becomes an idol in your life and becomes the God in your life, where money does take care of the things on the earth. But when money is your your end all be all. It's in your heart, greed, etc. That's why, you know what I'm saying, it would take a rich, it would be hard for a rich man to get in heaven, because are you willing to give those things up for God? Like, you know what I'm saying? Meaning that, do you understand that God is bigger than you having, you know what I'm saying? And understanding that people be missing, like, God is the same God. When Samuel asked for wisdom, he gave him rich, he blessed him. He didn't say, oh, here you go with somebody. He literally gave him that and more. Like, we have a God, we serve a God who blesses, like a God who blesses. He just makes it clear, like, I'm a jealous God. Like, none of this mean nothing compared to me. But you can have
First
it.
of
You
all,
can
I
have a
am the
little.
owner of it all.
Yeah,
All
like,
silver and gold belongs to him.
exactly. And that's why
Money is
even
a
with
shield.
marriages,
Like,
exactly, with marriages,
sorry.
relationships, when we prioritize them, people idolize marriage besides the actual relationship with God. Like, it's always more to it, but a lot of the stuff we be conditioned and we don't notice that we are operated in that. So you have to really work on your relationship with money, and really like understand it and rebuilding a newfound way of looking at money.
No.
Did you find what you needed?
Of course I found it.
Talk
Of course I found it.
about
It's
it.
Isaiah 53, and I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but you can go kind of through it. But it's Isaiah 53, and this is NIV, so it's like not the they, thous, whatever. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised, and we held him in low esteem.
That's good.
It's
He might
real
not have
good.
been ugly, but he wasn't cute.
Mm-hmm. But it does make sense of when you hear about the stories of David and the stories of like these kings and stuff, and it makes you think
Saul.
of, yeah, like the story of like what Jesus represents, of just like being able to be relatable.
Yeah.
That's like, he didn't come from a rich mom and a rich dad and was born in a palace. He came from Joseph and Mary. It's like he came from the
Yeah.
most unorthodox, that
Yes.
makes you be like, this is why, because it makes you think of the people that wouldn't be able to relate to him. It's like, well, when Jesus was born, he was born in a big old palace back in
In a
Egypt.
manger.
No, he
Yes.
was in a manger with donkeys,
He was
horses,
a Nazarene. Yeah.
on the
Where
run because someone's trying to kill him. And he don't even know this yet.
where
He
he's trying to
still
find his
milking.
disciples, they go, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Because that's the family that he comes from, right? His ancestors, his female ancestors, save for his mother, were prostitutes, because the one who saved the children of Israel when they were what's her name? Jesus
Miriam.
Christ, help me. No, not Miriam. Miriam was Moses' sister. This is this is after his time. This is after Moses. What's the
Mary
J
Magdalene,
one? No. He has a
Jezebel,
whole book. The one who stopped the
Jeremiah,
sun.
Oh,
No, too
Jacob,
Joshua.
far.
Jacob,
Joshua.
Joshua,
Thank you. I
yeah.
couldn't get it. Joshua who
Look,
stopped the
keep
sun.
going.
When they're
I
going
didn't
to
know if she was
scout it,
talking about
and
Mike.
Moses sent them over the wall, and the prostitute who saved them, who kept them and hid them while they were looking for them.
Rahab.
She's Rahab. Thank you. I was going Ruth, but that wasn't right. But she's an ancestor of Jesus, but she was a prostitute. Like, so much, like, there's so many examples where it just tells you that he looked like nothing, right? There's so many examples where people didn't believe him.
Wait a second. This is what I love so much about, and that's why I think I can't emphasize enough about getting in your word, because imagine the people that God be calling, the most unexpected, out of the hardest
Sure.
places, out of
Every
all of these
time.
things. If you understand how he works, and you understand almost like his patterns or how he does stuff, and not that you can understand how he thinks, but if you understand God's character, you can use a lot of those things in
No,
your
you
own
absolutely
life.
can.
Yeah, you can use those things in your own life to help you get through so many things. Because you saying that made me think of like when he talks about the suffering, and naturally we think about like, well, yeah, I didn't have to get hit with lashes on my back, but even just the suffering of not being accepted in your own home, like the thing of being like, I know I'm called to something greater, but people around me don't believe me. You know what I'm saying? And having to go to other places where they believe in me more than the people I was raised with. Like when you really take these things, it makes you really just go, wow, like dang, and yeah, been circling back to like just like the top, like validation and being able to, dang, that's deep, because that really just blessed me. That made me just think about when God be like, you're chosen, you're called, you're the one, and then how it is to know that this Jesus himself experienced those same things, and for him to experience those things and then overcome them without falling into temptation, it's like it makes it more relatable. That's why I'd be like, if he can do it with his strength, that's why we call on his name, because if he was able to do it, I'm able to do it because he dwelleth in me. And if he was able to have, a mom and dad and go out and try different jobs and do different things and be able to still fulfill the purpose of his ministry and be able to say, like, I'm going to do what you need me to do, God. But, if this cup is too much, please, if you could take this cup, but I still want your will to be done. It makes us think about the situations that we are in our own life, that we are in our own life. That's just like a you can't, like, that was just a full circle moment. I know you got it.
No, it was
That
good.
that was good, dang. That was good. The way it just brought a new revelation to me. That was like, it made me kind of breathe too, to just be like, it's necessary. It's necessary why we go through what we go through, because again, people are able to relate to your story and testimony and see God through you, because it's like no, Dana came from being a middle child. Like, you know what I'm saying? Pretty much. Like, Eric came from being like the oldest. You know what I'm saying? Daniel came from this, came from that, versus like we was born with silver spoons in our mouth. It's hard to relate if an example would be if North came on here like, oh, I just hate my life. It would be so hard to relate to her outside of like yeah, she must say some crazy stuff or something. But it would it would be like you don't know nothing about struggle. You know what I'm saying? How could you know? And imagine if Jesus did that.
Even as, I know we're about to move on, but even as like humans, I think we see it in such a carnal way of like thinking that only physical things is the only way you can struggle. And I think, I made that mistake too, of like thinking that how have I ever struggled? You know what I'm saying? How can I ever relate to other people? Because I've never been homeless. I've never had to eat out of in the trash. This is so extreme, but I've never had to eat out of the trash. I've never had to walk around with half-made shoes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it I think we kind of always only associate it to physical things, where it's like, no, it's like you said, there can be other things of the confidence. It could be the other things of not being understood in your own family, knowing that you're meant to go greater places, but they're not getting it around you. So
yeah. And he was moving with a whole bunch of misfits. He didn't go. That's why that's a
Republicans.
Yeah, like you with tax collectors and y'all, you sitting with who? Why in the world? Oh, something's really, there's no way he's this, like, so that's good. That's good. Wow, that really blessed me. I'm so happy we was able to like talk about this. I hope y'all, please, what was the book that you came from?
Isaiah 53.
Isaiah, and we also mentioned Joshua. What was another book that we mentioned? Oh, Rahab. Just, it's certain little things that can help you understand stuff, even just down to I haven't got fully there myself, but I'm like, if the Bible is so intentional in this prophetic book, when there's this lineage, those pages in the beginning, they're all like in the Old Testament, and it's all of this was and then, and he had 5 sons, and da da da. These things really important because they help you to understand. Because if you don't understand the relation of Rahab, and you wouldn't have understand the whole like, oh, that makes sense why this. Oh, so it's just like the Bible is so, so important, y'all. Y'all, like, please get in y'all word, study, break these things down. Like, even as we're growing and stuff, we should, like, we'll maybe even get to a point where we start doing, like, little Bible studies where we just, again, being able to just pick little things apart. Because when we're talking and having these podcasts, we be talking about the word so much, y'all. Like, but the word be so essential to our character development, to our understanding, to our purpose, to our calling, it really can just like, cause I'm still over here like, girl, that's why you be going through what you're going through.
Amen. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else to be said after all that?
Think you got any closing words for us?
Of course I do. Of course I do. Of course, it's always going to be a scripture also, because the topic today was validation. And so just to kind of solidify biblically, you know, people always be like, well, where is that in the Bible? I found it. I have it. Let's hear it. Okay, Acts 2 and 22. I won't read the whole thing. I'll literally read half the verse. I'll read the whole verse, just the first one. Acts 22, or Acts 2 and 22. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Jesus of Nazareth, a man approved of God among you by miracles and wonders and signs, which God did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourselves also know. Even Jesus needed validation, right? But not the validation that you think. He needed the validation of certain men that God walked with, and then he needed the validation of the Father himself. There are certain people that you have to be wise enough to encounter them a certain way. The Bible even talks about how some of us have encountered angels unaware. Why would they make themselves known to us if not to give us something, right? What purpose would an angel have in just coming to be in our face? They don't, because they're messengers and they're never sent of themselves. And so there are certain people that you meet that are carrying something that you need to validate you for your next dimension, for your next level. And obviously God is the one who sent him, meaning he's validating you also by them or through them, right? What we just read is that by him doing these miracles through Jesus, that's how he made himself known. And so there are certain people, and of course the Lord Jesus, of course God the Father himself, that you need the approval of, but that never ends or begins with society telling you yes. In fact, everybody that God chose were the complete opposite of what they believed that God should have chose, right? God has always been interesting in his picking of people, right? He picked people who, his first king that he wanted to pick was David, a shepherd boy who even when Samuel came said, this one, I guess he is kind of handsome, but he looked ruddy, which means he looked blotchy, right? He didn't look quite like a king, but he grew into it, right? He didn't act like a king either. God always picked people that would need him. So he always picked flawed people because God is always seen where there's issues, where there's sin, right? Grace abounds all the more where there is sin. And so not that they were sinning, but it tells you that God is always going to pick people who are flawed, whether it be character, whether it be that they're actually sinning, because that's where he is found, right? And so there is a place of validation that you need and that holds your next key, but it won't be in that person's opinion. It won't be in it looking like it should to other people, but it'll be by what God says in his validation. So on that note, be loving, be kind, be smart, be wise, more than smart, but always seek God above all things and be so for real in doing so. And until next time, we'll see you Monday for our Monday Lives. We'll see you Friday for our every episode. You know, we might have some new things dropping, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And while you're down there, making sure that you're subscribed, you know, scroll down, check it, press it. Also press the share button. Share to your friend, your sister, your brother, because the boys need it too.
Your mama needs to see your
Yeah, we're sisters. Yeah, we're girls. But they need it too. We be spitting on here. You know what I'm saying? So until next time, y'all, we love y'all.
Why the Holy Spirit? All right.